too, but
Yeah.
I'll try to stay close to the mic though.
Yeah, that is super clear right there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start it again. Start it again.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Our influencer of the week today, con nosotros tenemos a Evan Lovett. Welcome to Mega 96.3, man. Make some noise for homeboy, man. LA in a minute in the building. LA in a minute is in the building. So, man, I've been a fan of your posts on your social media page. Like I was telling you off the air, my wife, myself, we follow you. The whole team here, Smoochie, Gigi, we all follow you. And you'll be posting a lot of cool stuff about the city of LA. We are LA, you are LA. It was only right that we brought you in. So para mi gente que me está escuchando, esta entrevista va a ser en inglés. Because Evan, un poquito español o no español at all?
I mean, yo hablo español un poco porque mi esposa es de Zacatecas. Un pueblo se llama Huanusco y mi niño también es un mitad mexicano. So, tratamos a crecer el bilingüe. So, yo necesité aprender y continue to practicando.
Hey, that was good, man. So tell us, man, how did this whole page of LA in a Minute start? What's the story behind it?
All right, so look, I'm a journalist at heart. I went to UCLA. I was sports editor at Daily Bruin, worked for the LA Times. Journalism's like kind of a crappy career. The hours were bad. I was covering like high school sports in Orange County. And this is back in the day before the internet was what it really was. So I had to file stories, go back to downtown LA. I was getting out on Friday nights, Saturday nights at like 1 a.m. in LA, great city, but things shut down. So my boys would be out and they'd be like, oh, we're going in, we're going to bed, or whatever you party, but it'd be like late that you're joining the party. So I got out of that career, 20 years just staying like private industry, online marketing. And then because of this dude right here, when he was about 8 years old, he was getting on screen time. And there's so much bad quality screen time. I still read newspapers. I was trying to get him to read the newspaper, and he's like, dude, nobody your age even reads newspapers. There's no way I'm reading it. So he was into TikTok, and I was like, that's a terrible idea. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back door. I'm going to make a TikTok of me doing like stories about LA just from the news in 1 minute. So it'd be like 2 or 3 stories about what happened in the news yesterday. That kind of got me a little bit of a following, but it was when I started to delve into like oldest fast food restaurants or why is the LA River enclosed in concrete, that people really started, paying attention and gained some traction. But everywhere you go, I love it. Look, you look out the window, there's so many different things. And I'm like, dude, there's downtown. This is Miracle Mile. Like, there's so many stories everywhere in Los Angeles. And we always are told LA has no history and culture. Right. But look in this room right now, the culture is here and the history is everywhere. So
yeah, man. You know, one of my favorite videos that caught my eye was one of the recent ones. It was very well produced. My social media guy here was like, hey, man, that guy has good quality. It's the video of El Pato.
Yes.
And the video of El Pato, because, and then what also was very relatable, because I grew up eating that salsa El Pato. Yes. I remember being like 11 years old, coming out of school. My parents were working. I'd be making myself quesadillas with the El Pato sauce. And I was doing everything myself, and I wasn't gonna be making salsa from scratch, so I was just that El Pato post, that video was some really good history, man.
Dude, thank you for that, and I gotta give a shout out Eddie Sanchez. That's the guy who produced that one. He's from Hungary in LA, but he's like a serious like food photographer, videographer, but he's down, true LA guy. But El Pato is a great story because that was LA's first homegrown salsa, and also it's the first salsa ever exported to Mexico, because obviously Mexico, homegrown salsa, no shortage of, but El Pato. So it's a good story, and I mean, that goes back 100 plus years, and it's so iconic right off the, the 5 out there? Off the free, I'm terrible with directions. But
right by East LA, you can see it right off the bridges.
Dude, just that logo is dope. They got the long one, but they also got the can with the duck on it. So it's like that's such part of LA. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man, good stuff. And not only that, but my favorite subject in school is history. So you get me with all the history stuff. Yes. Like I was a straight A student in history. I was not good in math, but I was very good in history. So you definitely bring the history of LA to the regular listener that might not know a lot of the stuff that you talk about. So we want to know what's been like the craziest story from all the stuff that you've documented so far. What's been like the coolest thing that you were like, man, I didn't even know that people might not know about from all the stuff you talked about on your page?
I'll tell you this. They're all great stories because I always learn something different, right? And I pride myself on my research, being able to dig and find these kind of nuggets. But it's not necessarily one thing that was so crazy, because I always try to find something that blows my mind or that I didn't know that I hope people didn't know, and I'm usually pretty good at that. But the thing that continuously blows my mind is LA is such the home of the American dream. You always hear American dream, but LA is where the American dream can be the American dream to this day. And going back, you go back to Fatburger, 1940s, Lovey Yancey, African-American female, came from Bastrop, Texas, started a hamburger stand with 10 stools that became a $1 billion company. You go to King Taco, right? Raul Martinez, that dude came from Mexico City, didn't have enough money to cross the border in Tijuana. Somebody gave him money for bus fare. He ends up in MacArthur Park making carne asada. Had the crazy idea to start selling tacos off of an ice cream truck. People told me it was nuts. Lo and behold, that's the first taquero. Porto's, Rosa Porto, immigrant from Cuba, Castro's Cuba, like you're not even allowed to leave. Somehow the family was lucky enough to leave. She was making these pastries from a bedroom in Echo Park. And now all of a sudden, Porto's is the most popular bakery in the United States. So LA keeps coming up with these American dream stories. And it's just a city that continues to blow my mind because you can truly come from nothing and achieve something because this city's open to it and the people are open to it. And there's like that diversity and the beauty and the richness of the culture.
Yeah, man. Now that you mentioned Portos, our owners here of the station, of the company, are Cuban. So I have a lot of history to share with you.
There you go. Okay.
And now it all makes sense why Latinos like myself and the team here can relate to your videos. Now it all makes sense. Now that you tell us that your wife is Mexican and that your son is, half and half, it all makes sense that why Latinos can also relate to your page, because how this, what the city's about and the breakdown and, different cultures, the different colors, white, black, Latino, etc.
And I grew up in the Valley, right? It was called Sepulveda when I lived there. Now it's called North Hills, but that's the middle of the San Fernando Valley. And the Valley used to always get dumped on, let's just say, right? People are like, why go to the Valley? We're doing the Valley. But dude, I remember growing up in my homeroom in junior high. Now it's middle school, but in junior high, there was an Egyptian girl. There was a Kenyan girl, Armenians, Italians, of course, Mexican, Salvadorian, Guatemalan, whatever. And you don't realize it when you're younger, but that's what kind of makes you the person that you are, but it's what makes this city so amazing because at the same time you're going over your friend's house and you're not realizing that you're exposed to different culture. You don't think of it in those terms, but you have different food. You have a pupusa for the first time. I didn't know what a pupusa was when I'm like 12 years old or whatever it is. But like, damn, this is good. But wait, what is this stuff they put on? Like cabbage that you're putting? I don't even like cabbage, but somehow it's like, curtido. But like,
and you're curtido.
You're just like all the different cultures, like, come together in LA. And like, let's be honest, there's racism and there's BS everywhere.
Man.
But in LA, what I love is whether you're in Hancock Park or Sylmar or Pomona or San Pedro, you got black, white, Mexican, Armenian, everywhere, up and down the spectrum. And that's what makes this like such a special city to grow up in. And of course, you got to realize that and respect that. Like, I mean, I married a Mexican, coincidentally, but like whatever it was, like it was going to be representative of LA because everywhere you go, that's what the city's about.
No, yeah, man, that's those are all very good examples. I know Smoochie and Gigi want to ask you a question, so let's see what Smoochie got.
Well, I wanted to ask you, how do you pick like what is gonna go up next for your content? Like because you have to have a lot of choices here in LA. So which one is the one that you pick and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this one?
What a great question, man. Nobody's ever asked me that, but I spend a lot of time thinking about that because there are so many stories. So I always have like 20 completed drafts. Like right now, there's any one of 20 episodes, but I'm always working on new ones. So if I'm driving by, like on the way home, he pointed out, we go by Pink's, like we're gonna go down La Brea and there's Pink's hot dogs, right?
Yeah, legendary for hot dogs.
Yeah, and it's just a legendary LA story because they started as like a hot dog cart and they stole electricity from a gas station. It's like a cool story, but there's always more stories. But how do I pick which one I'm gonna do? Look, sometimes they're scheduled, but the truth is, whatever the mood strikes me. Sometimes I want to do a food one. Sometimes I want to go back, do the earliest drawing of Los Angeles, just a history one out of nowhere. So I got one on ducks, how the ducks came to Los Angeles, just random stuff. And by the way, to answer a question that you said, one that blew my mind recently, was LA was actually the capital of California. And I didn't realize that. I never heard that because I always thought it was Sacramento. But when LA was under Mexican rule in 1835, it was part of Alta California. And the delegate for Alta California to the Mexican Congress was Jose Carrillo, an LA native, which is always funny because now if you're an LA native for 2 generations, you're like, wow, your family's been here so long. But he's an LA native in 1835, and he was the only delegate for Alta California. So he went to the meeting of the Mexican Congress in 1835 and petitioned to have the capital of Alta California be moved from Monterrey to LA.
What?
Well, there was nobody else from Monterrey at the Congress, so they passed the formal decree, and LA became the capital of Alta California. Now, 2 years later, they moved it back to Monterrey, but I thought that was dope because LA was a little pueblo of only 2,000 people, and it was like rancheros and like stuff like that. So, I mean, like, I'm always stumbling across things that I'm like, I gotta tell people about that.
You know what? That's crazy. I never knew that LA was the capital of California at all. And now it makes sense. We have Baja California, and now we have Alta California. I didn't even know there was such a thing as Alta California. I thought California was California the whole time. But I never heard the term Alta California until today, so I'm learning with you today,
There
man.
you go. There you go. I'll give you one more dope one. Sorry. Is one of the most historic. LA Times says this is the most important place in the history of the state of California. It's in the valley, right across from Universal Studios, okay? It's a place called Campo de Cahuenga. And I'm telling you, right across the street from a place that 3 million people go per year, not even 3 dozen people go there every weekend. But what happened there was Andres Pico and John Fremont signed the Treaty of Campo de Cahuenga to put down the guns and end the hostilities of the Mexican-American War, which was actually being fought in the Cahuenga Pass at the time. So anyway, that ended the Mexican-American War, led to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and for the United States to have Alta California as part of the United States and LA become part of it. But what blew my mind about that is I was like, hold on. You're telling me the Mexican-American War, and there are battles all over the place.
Right.
But the Cahuenga Pass was a battleground for like this Mexican, right? I always think like the Alamo or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if I, but I was like, dude, LA has all this crazy history, and now it's Universal Studios right across the street. So I mean, like all that stuff like blows my mind.
From those wars to the capital of entertainment, right?
Yes, exactly, and just like the juxtaposition. And all that
Hey,
good stuff.
I know Gigi, my coworker, also has questions, so let's get her to answer your question. I could go on and on, man, because I'm a history junkie.
It's funny that we're talking about Alta and all that stuff. Have you done the Pio Pico Mansion?
No,
And because Pio Pico was the last governor of Alta California, and Pio Pico Mansion is in Whittier, in Pico Rivera, borderline. So
I need to do that, and I also, so this actually continuation is fact. Pio Pico actually made Los Angeles the final capital of Alta California too. He moved his offices to what's now like Fletcher Bullrun Square in downtown, but that was called the Bella Union, which was LA's first hotel. And as the last governor, he's like, yo, this is gonna, he didn't know he was gonna be the last governor, but he was like, I'm the governor, so we're moving so it was actually, that was the second and final time LA was capital. But no, I haven't done Pio Pico yet.
that's the next challenge, because I drive by it every day, but I have no idea what's inside. I just know what it is. Yeah, definitely.
There's so many, and there's so many names because like Pico, Sepulveda, Wilshire, all these were people, and I've driven on these streets thousands of times, and you never really put together that it's named after somebody, or you're like, oh, maybe there's somebody named Sepulveda, but why'd they name this big boulevard after?
Yeah. And then speaking of that, I gotta get you the name of this park that's over there by San Fernando. Where there's a small little park that still has like some Mexican flags from back in the days and some U.S. flags inside the park. It would be a good follow up for that. It's a small little park.
Chavez one, is it?
No, it's right off of Sepulveda exit 118. You make a right. Small little park across the street from the post office. And I went in there once, and they still have some Mexican flags from those days, from the 1800s.
Is that the Adobe? There's a different Pico Adobe over in the valley, in that part of the valley, like kind of near the San Fernando Mission.
Yes, down the street from the San Fernando Mission.
Yes, so there's a Lopez Adobe in San Fernando proper, but there's also a Pico Adobe, which is the oldest house in the valley.
I want to say it's that one, the oldest house in the valley.
And it's cute, and they have like presentations there sometimes about LA history.
Yeah. Back in the days, I rented that park for my kid's birthday. You were able to rent the park. I was able to rent, because it's so small. It's a mini
it's
park.
like a quaint, like charming little place. Dude, that's cool.
With the old school looking house in
check
there.
it out. I think it's the Pico Adobe.
I don't think they rent it anymore, but that's a good follow up on that. Hey man, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thank you
know
for
what?
having me, man.
You remind me of my middle school history teacher that got me to love history.
Really?
His name was Mr. Boyd here at Berendo Middle School. Yeah,
Hey,
and
Mr.
just
Boy,
because of the
shout
energy,
out.
just because of the energy you bring and how you storytelling is very entertaining. I think that's what catches people's attention because history for kids might look and seem boring, but you know, you give it that energy and you give it that charm that makes it sound cool.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you
man.
very much for having me. And there's
Any other questions, guys?
No, I'm like literally tired. Like I felt like I'm in school and you're like literally, bro. Like I was like, oh my god, like what time is recess? Because my head is just spinning.
Fair enough. Tells me that you were not good in
hey,
history.
that's why they're 1 minute videos, man. Because if you're watching like 10 in a row, like, dude, that test is coming. The midterm's coming up soon. Be ready.
But has that been a thought, like maybe to teach? Because I mean, you have the
I s-
natural ability.
Yes.
I spoke to incoming freshmen at Cal State Northridge on Friday, like a big lecture hall. So that was kind of something along those lines. But I like having my platforms and having the flexibility. I don't like to be pinned in and, you know, certain hours and 10 weeks and all this kind of stuff. So I like having the flexibility.
Hey man, thanks again for coming by. Before you go,
Yeah.
share your pages so everybody can follow you, man.
Dude, easy. Just look up LA in a minute. You're going to find me everywhere. And don't forget the podcast, In a Minute with Evan Lovett. That's actually really dope. Smooch, you might not like it because it's longer form. LA in a Minute stuff, but it's more personal, more free flowing. But LA in a Minute, you'll find me on every platform. In a Minute with Evan Lovett is the podcast.
And I expect us to be here on your
Damn
bio
right.
from here. I think you
Literally,
said-
you're laughing, but absolutely, man.
Evan, before you leave, how is it dating a Latina?
Oh, there you go. That's
Ooh,
it.
married
I
to a
was
Latina.
waiting. He's usually with those type
Mary.
of questions,
It
you know,
was-
so I was waiting for that. I'm
It
glad
was
you
a
asked.
learning process, a very long, going on 20 plus year learning process. But I'll tell you what, the passion, the heart, and the honesty, and the thing that gets me with her, part of it is her family. Because again, I'm a romantic in the sense that these American dream stories of immigrants that came from small pueblo, Juanusco, Zacatecas, and made it in Los Angeles, of all places, and have families, successful daughters, and a beautiful daughter that I married. I mean, it's a great story. But yeah, learning every day is a learning process. Let's put it
How's
that
the
way.
fight?
No comment. No comment. No comment.
Hey,
all the time.
to
She
end
wins all the
it on a Taco Tuesday note, today we got a Taco Tuesday, free Taco Tuesday in San Fernando Valley. If you want to come through, man, tacos on us and
Where?
on Galpin. It's gonna be on Laurel Canyon and Brand Boulevard.
Dude, all right, let's go.
Yeah, man, come through. You're invited. You're invited to the taquiza because you know you're invited to the barbecue. You're invited to the carne asada.
I like the carne asadas. Let's go.
man.